There's something special about crafting a piece of art. It's like a piece of you. Your thoughts, feelings, and interests put into something for the world to see. If you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know I definitely enjoy storytelling in word form, but my true obsession and driving force with horror media has always been filmmaking. Something about the visual aspect is so immersive to me, and it definitely shows in what I like to create. Minimal dialogue, for the most part, and a focus on the age-old saying in film of show don't tell is something I've strived for. I've never really been a good writer, but we don't need to talk about that. But I've had stories in my head that I could see rather than define. You mix that with some sad boy depression, anxiety, and ADHD, and you got one hell of a stew going on in that crock pot. I won't be pulling punches on any of these videos, but I may also gush over things that you don't find entertaining. And you know what? You, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, you're free to form your own opinion as well. And when you dump out the box, you'll find a puzzle depicting who I am and what matters to me. And for me, that's what it's all about. If you enjoyed the video, the subscribe and like buttons are right down there. You really don't have to click them, as I just appreciate you being here to listen to what I have to say. Doing that would just be a little cherry on top of the sundae. I'll go ahead and outline now as a trigger warning, heavy topics are dealt with in the films. If you have severe trauma and don't like discussing topics of self-harm, mental illness, or violence, now would be a good time to click off. Welcome to the Darkness Tales horror short film Iceberg. At the surface, we have the films you're most likely to see first. We'll go ahead and look into Frequency from October of 2018. This video is arguably my most popular, as the owner of creepypasta.com at the time asked for my permission to post the video on their channel and on the front page of the website. It was supposed to kick off the Creepypasta TV section, but that never really panned out. With that being said, let's hop into the video itself. We open to our protagonist doing some work on the computer and listening to a talk show on the radio. Suddenly, the speaker shifts to playing some good old Elvis Presley.
Points last season, it was obviously looking pretty bleak for him. He had a manager.
Hi, it's editing me. YouTube said no to Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis Presley, so, just gonna have to listen to me talk. I'm sorry about that, but we'll get back to the video. Not thinking too much about it, he tries to adjust the knob a bit, thinking maybe being an old piece of equipment, the dial slipped or something. He goes and sits back down at the desk, pushing zoom into radio as distorted song plays again.
That left-hand side, really linking up well.
He jumps, glancing over to the radio. And as he looks back at the computer, he sees something. Whether being traumatized by that or mind-controlled by whatever malevolent force was messing with his tunes, he grabs an extension cord and a stool. Now, this is where we see him setting up an attempt at self-harm. I'm not going to make any jokes about this moment, as the cord is tied and the protagonist steps off the stool. We see the cord pulled tight as the screen fades to black. He wakes up at his desk to ringing in his ears, clearly shaken by the dream he just had. As he recollects himself, he catches something out of the corner of his eye and looks over. There we see the dangling feet in the foreground as the protagonist is left in stunned silence. Sorry to drop you into such heavy subject matter right off the bat. The video was made during a really dark mental period of time for me. Luckily, I have a support system around me that got me through it, but if you aren't so lucky, I'll leave some links to resources down below. Remember, you're not alone, and you can get through it. It's okay to ask for help. So this film was actually made over the course of about 4 hours, from shooting to the edit being finished. The short form factor let me tell a concise narrative while leaving it open to interpretation. I can hear you asking now, is it all a metaphor? Was it mind control? Was he experiencing a mental break? And I'll let you in on a little secret. Come here. A little closer. Don't be shy. I don't know. That's right, this concept just popped into my brain and I started shooting. No pre-written script or outline, just started winging it like I did most of my calculus exams in high school. But here it actually seemed to work out. I will say the camera work is a little sloppy. I'm not a huge fan of the gasping shot with his hand lightly touching his chest like an appalled 1800s plantation wife, but most of the other shots, like the close-up on his face as he strings up the cord with the half dark, half light, were awesome in my opinion. I let my emotions drive the bus and just sat back and enjoyed the ride. I do genuinely view this as one of my top 3 films I've ever made, as it was purely built on the back of feeling rather than planning. Speaking of planning, let's hop into the next film. I Love You, Jake. This film was planned, storyboarded, and written over the course of several months by myself and good friend Jake, the super handsome protagonist of the film. So much of this actually spawned from a late night alcohol-infused idea. A video later on the iceberg was actually shot that night as part of our brainstorming. The music heard in this one was Jake on the guitar. He does a lot of supportive heavy lifting and certainly deserves some credit. We open to a beautiful drone shot of some trees in Lake Conroe, all while a radio broadcast revealing what is likely too much information about possible disappearances/murders in the state park.
Authorities found the body mutilated, missing limbs, with severe lacerations all across the body. State park officials are encouraging citizens to not be camping in the area, and if they do so, they are doing it at their own risk.
Coincidentally, our hero decides to go camping during this period of time to take his mind off some personal turmoil going on in his life. His contemplative demeanor is broken with a jarring set of shots of him taking off and heading out for the weekend. A chill guitar tune really sets the tone as he hikes to his spot and does some fishing. Gonna pause here, as I recognize this whole scene of him fishing really could have been edited out, but as a beginner filmmaker, I was so excited about some of the shots that I left it all in. It's a good vibe though, for sure, my guy. That evening, we see Jake clearly drunk sitting by the campfire. He pops open his voicemails to what is apparently an ex apologizing, saying,
"Hey, I know I messed up, and I don't really expect you to call me back after what I did, but maybe I just wanted you to know. I love you, Jake."
Oh, they did it. They said the name of the film. When suddenly he glances up, seeing a figure standing at the shoreline menacingly. It's hard to tell if he's actually seeing something or it's just a trick of the light with some bush light induced haze. So he rubs his eyes, and when he opens them again, the figure is gone. We transition to Jake laying in bed, only to be startled by a clicking growl. He sits up, and to his horror, the silhouette of the figure he saw earlier is lit up on his tent from the dying embers of the fire. As it creeps around, a scream from the creature bellows out, and Jake takes off into the woods. As he's sprinting through the forest, the echoes of the voicemail ring through the trees, and of course, this is why your parents always said, never go camping in a haunted forest because you could have to run through the dark with no ability to see what's in front of you and you'll trip over something. Just me? And would you believe it? That's exactly what happens. As he picks his face up out of the dirt, the clicking rumbles from right in front of him. Standing right there, the creature looks down on its prey and mutters the final line. So there's a lot to unpack here. First off, shouts out Jake for the drone work, the monster clicking noises, and the guitar riffs. Also, my brother Adam. We shot this in January in 30-degree temps, and Adam was in a morph suit and a mask. Dude was frigid. Some of the shots I chose to include didn't really work, but I will say the monster design felt cool, and I was a fan. I think we could have done better with the transitions and ending, but we were all ready to get back to camp to get warm. This video was so fun to shoot, despite the freezing temperature. Alright, time to pop that rebreather in your mouth and bundle up. We're heading into the water to the next tier below the surface. Late is a short but sweet banger from 2019. Adam actually gets to play a starring role in this one. This was another instance of a cold night. This is actually the second version, and we'll cover the earlier one later on in the video. We open to street lamps buzzing as Adam is headed on his way to a party. His phone rings and it's his buddy telling him this girl he's had googly eyes for is asking about him.
Ollie's here looking for you.
Damn, okay, I'm passing the trailhead on Creekview right now. I'll be there in like 15.
Just take the trail, you'll cut the time in half.
I don't know.
Take the shortcut.
Adam stares into the dark path unsure, but ends up making the decision that he's gotta do it. Not far into the walk, he notices someone lying on the ground. In shock and confusion, he stands there for a minute staring at the body. A growl startles him as he looks around for what made the sound. And when he turns back around, the body has moved to now be right at his feet. He stumbles back in fear, which seems to have shaken him out of his confused state, and he dials 911. The operator answers and asks for his location, but before Adam can answer, this happens.
Where are you?
I'm on the trail off
You're
Creekside.
missing the party.
What?
Holly's here and looking for you. Just take the trail. You'll cut the time in half. Take the shortcut. Take the shortcut. Take the shortcut. Take the shortcut. Take the shortcut.
So of course, he takes off back the way he came, and as he exits the trail, he turns around and stares into the trees. From behind him, the creature appears and utters,
You're late.
short, sweet, and to the point. This is probably my second favorite film I've made, but one thing I wish I had changed was to end the video before the final clip. It just doesn't feel cohesive to the rest of the video. Could you poke plot holes in the rest of it? Sure, of course. But the way he reacts to finding a body is just going to be chalked up to the idea that everyone reacts differently in situations, the saving grace excuse for all horror media. I genuinely like the idea that we now don't know if the initial phone call was legitimate or not. The story moves at a decent pace, and overall I'm happy with it. I think Adam did well acting in this one, and it seems like these impromptu last-minute videos hold up the best as they aren't overplanned. But if overplanned is your style, you're gonna love this next one. The Christmas Tree Farm. This shoot was so nice and warm and easy. Psych, bitch, this was cold, rainy, and disgusting outside. You wanna break into the biz? Gotta be willing to grind. So yeah, this was miserable when it came to the weather. Seems to be a common trait of my films. I've never been a good script writer, and I think it shows here. But the location was a Christmas tree farm outside of Huntsville, Texas that held a special place in my heart, as my family had been going from the time I was around 5 years old. We opened to some sick B-roll of the farm grounds. Kellen and Allie are heading out there to pick out their first Christmas tree in Texas. Freshly transplanted from Chicago, Allie seems in high spirits while Kellen has an attitude about the whole thing. When they get there, Allie mentions all of the things to do around the farm, but Kellen can only think of where the closest margarita is. They head out on a hike, and first decide to check out an old underground spring. Psych again, bitch! Well, shortly after they stumble upon an old washed out bridge where things get weird.
Oh, what the?
Babe, are you okay?
Oh, what the?
What the fuck was that?
When Kellen hears the scream, his first instinct is to go help, while Allie, with proper horror protagonist energy, wants to get the hell out of there. They split up and Kellen heads deeper into the woods, while Allie scurries back to the parking lot to call for help. We join Kellen as he makes his way through the trees until he reaches an open field. We see a person curled up in the grass crying, and he notices something odd. The jacket, the hair. It's Allie. He runs to her in confusion, checking to see if she's okay, only for her to look up. A spooky reveal shows she's not crying, but laughing, and her eyes seemingly have been swallowed up by an inky blackness. We jump to Allie, running through the rows of Christmas trees, clearly freaked out. She catches movement out of her peripheral as what appears to be Kellen moves between the trees. She creeps towards him, and right as she's about to peek around the tree, Kellen comes sprinting up from behind her, rushing her to the truck to get out of there. And as we close, the truck comes to a stop on the side of the road, as that piercing noise causes Allie to hunch over holding her head. We see Kellen behind the wheel with an inky blackness swallowing his eyes. Woof. What a ride this one was. This was something I wanted to write as a short story, but as we've already discussed, I write with the nuance and talent of a second grader. I was genuinely happy with the way it was shot, however, I think my script writing definitely hurt the film. Should have gone through a few rewrites, but you know, you live and you learn. Big shout out to Austin and Montana because the black paint we used was tough. I felt bad that both of them went home looking like raccoons, and that's on me for sure. I designed this to not even know myself what's going on. Is it a time-bending situation? Are there a bunch of mimic creatures? Is it demonic? I'll let y'all decide. Alright, heading on to the next tier. Welcome to the underside of the iceberg. Not the chart, just the actual iceberg itself. Don't get it twisted. Stop freaking out. It's just an endless abyss with no hope of return after we get through this layer, so chill the fuck out. Me? I'm fine. This doesn't rattle me at all. Erebus. We're starting to dip into the history of my more experimental filmmaking. This was shot and edited in one night while a bit tipsy, I'll own up to it. I focused on how the shots were set and the interesting lighting, utilizing multiple colors to establish an uneasy and otherworldly feeling. And you'll start to notice there are some ties between these videos. Not all of them, but this one starts to establish a through line between certain videos. If you'd like me to do an explanation and timeline of those, absolutely let me know in the comments below. We open to an empty foyer when suddenly the lock clicks and our protagonist steps in through the door. As he walks into the apartment, he takes a moment to look around in the dark, feeling as though something's off. He heads into the kitchen to grab a drink and pours himself a little bit of a bonus beverage. After a contemplative break, he glances over and notices something in the hallway to the bedroom. As he grows concerned, he calls over to whatever it is and goes to confront it. As he marches over, something makes him stop. On his left, a child's drawing hangs from a metal panel. Almost entranced by the piece of paper, he pulls it down and holds it in his hands. While studying it, he feels a breath on his neck from something behind him. He spins around to find nothing there. He goes back to looking at the picture, only to look up one more time to find a monster right in front of him. We then see the drawing float to the ground as our protagonist has seemed to disappear. When watching this one in real time, it's a very basic video. The lighting is cool, but everything seems to linger a bit too long for what it is. You'll also notice some oddities in the audio, and that's because I shot the entire video in silence, and every last sound was Foley and voiceover work aside from the music and ambient sounds. I've learned my lesson on that one. The way he says, hey, is just so dang goofy. All in all, fun video to shoot, and I'm glad I took the time to play with the lighting styles. We haven't delved into mental illness with my videos since the first one we covered, so this is a trigger warning for anyone who is sensitive to schizophrenia or paranoia topics. This one's called Sticks. This is the most recent of the videos and was shot in 2019, and I'm a bit disappointed in myself here as I try tackling the enormous task of understanding. And looking back, I don't feel it was my place to do so. But it is a film I made and belongs on this iceberg. So we see clips of our guy writing in his journal on a rainy day as visions of the being flash in front of us. We gather that he's feeling tormented by something, and it's unclear if it's all in his head or something supernatural. This video was shot as a sort of teaser to introduce a monster that I wanted to do more with. Again, another video just shot on a whim one day while I was home alone. I think the monster design is cool, and some of the shots, like when he's creeping towards the bed, are definitely spooky. I ended up scrapping the idea after I had some time to reflect, as though it's not my place to speak on a mental health issue I haven't experienced myself. And goodness, the way I narrate the journal entry made me cringe.
I wonder what will become of me anyway.
I think I was trying to sound like I was about to cry, but it just comes off as try-hard to me. Not too much to talk about here, as the video is so short, but it is certainly an interesting concept. Alright, we're getting deeper. Got your flashlight? We're heading into some dark water, taking that last little bit of sunlight before we move into the next tier. This is going to be a quick one, as it was intended to be a teaser for I Love You, Jake. It's called Cell Phone. Well, it's not actually called Cell Phone. I think I named it something goofy like this cell phone was found in the woods or something. Remember me mentioning the drunken brainstorming we did for that? Yeah, this was shot that night. Like a broken record. Again, it was cold out there. Very impromptu. Jake and I decided to walk to the local park and film this. So we opened to text on screen reading January 29th, 2017. Police responded to a missing person report in the Sam Houston National Forest. All they were able to find was an empty campsite until approximately 100 yards away they discovered a cell phone lying in the dirt. There was one video the investigation found unusual. At which point we cut to this. Jake running through the trees and stumbling upon a man who seems to be covered by an ethereal blackness. The thing turns, screeches, and lunges at the camera. Like I said, not a lot to this one, just two friends goofing around. I'm still surprised I let Jake convince me to strip down to my underwear for it though. We follow up the most simple entry on the list with the most complicated. If you weren't around in 2016, you probably have no idea about the series 10-2. Yes, that's right, I'm lumping the series together as each of the videos doesn't and wasn't supposed to stand on their own. These were shot when I had just recently stumbled onto analog horror. I wanted to create a mysterious, cryptic video series with heavy lore and all the dang spooks. And it started out that way, but I ran out of motivation and inspiration. I'll be totally honest, I don't remember what my end goal was. We might as well speculate while we're here. The first episode, titled The End, is camcorder footage of someone filming inside their closet at night. As they look around, a steady static builds in the background, when they stumble upon a big teddy bear that looks ragged and old. Suddenly, the static noise drops out. There's a moment of calm before... We then get a blue screen with an error code, followed by footage of the face of our guy lying on the ground, presumably dead. Things to note here is the date in the top corner showing 10/2/2017. Oh my goodness, it's the title. 101 minutes left of space for recording in the bottom left, and a battery meter in the bottom right. After the blue screen, the date is the same, but we now have 102 minutes of recording space. The battery is dead after just being 2/3 full. The next episode, Answer Me, opens to an eerie soundtrack, made by yours truly, with some entity sitting in a chair with a light bulb to its left. We then get a black screen with the words, I enjoy rain days. We then see the entity again holding what looks to be a small teddy bear as he drops it to the floor. We linger on this shot as a word pops up in the static asking, are you lost? A shot of the same guy from the first episode is seen where he's sitting on the couch like someone is peeking at him from behind a piece of furniture. A creepy moan plays as static overtakes the shot, only to end a second later, back on the guy sitting on the couch. We cut in quick succession from the entity sitting in the chair again to a close-up of the bear's face from the first episode, and then to the same bear sitting where the entity was. Back on the entity, a quick flash shows nothing but the black cloth resting on the chair, followed by a text screen stating, Sample exit initiate protocol 10-2. Episode 3, I Decide, starts us off with the same creepy ditty as we get a shot of a sink with a hand just above, and some type of liquid being poured into the palm. In the background of the sink, 3 symbols can be seen, but I can't remember what those were for the life of me. A shot of an open closet door with nothing but pitch black inside comes on screen, followed by a quick flash of the sink, back to the closet shot again, where the entity can be seen to the right side of the frame. Quick flash of the bear in the chair again, before we transition to our guy on the phone in the kitchen. He seems to be in a disagreement, mentioning,
What do you want me to do with it? I'm not just gonna throw it away.
A slight distortion on the last word seems to transition us into a reversed audio of whatever is said next. The main points mentioned here were, it's just a teddy bear, I thought it was cool so I grabbed it, and I'll tuck it away in the closet. Test audio and static play as we jump back to the entity in the closet. We then see the sink shot. Just notice while editing this set of coordinates right here, it shows a place off of Panther Branch Creek near the Woodlands, Texas, and I just thought it should be mentioned as I missed it in the initial analysis. So, alright, back to the video. From the start, where the hand starts smearing the substance around where the words, because I can find you, are written on the sink. Episode 4, which has no title, is almost not worth mentioning, as I'll be honest, I just filmed a trinket at the at-home store because I thought it was creepy. Don't judge me. Listen here, you little shit. So let's just focus on the first 3. We can safely assume a possessed doll situation. Our protagonist likely brought the teddy bear home, and the haunting started from there. I wish I could remember what story beats I had planned. Who knows, maybe one day I'll pick it up again and see what I can make out of it from what I started. On to the next tier. It's like bonus dark down here, I can't see anything. Oh my gosh, I think I found a creature. Ugh, it's gross. Its face is all deformed and what's that? Oh, it's you? Nah, I'm just kidding. Welcome to tier 5. This one's called Dreaming. You won't find this video publicly unless you click the playlist link in the description. Dreaming is another early video from 2016. We open on some clocks, followed by our protagonist walking into the apartment clearly stressed out, feeling some type of discomfort. He sits on the couch and flips the TV on, only to find static. And just look at this frame. This is A1 editing right here, he said sarcastically. As he stares at it for a minute, hands all of a sudden appear under the static, making him jump. Clearly not helping his mental state, he gets up and walks into the bathroom, where he seems to try to pull himself together. He heads to the kitchen to make a snack and jam out to an absolute banger of a song. When he's interrupted by a loud bang, he moves tentatively into the bedroom where the door slams shut and he finds himself dizzy and disoriented, falling to the ground. When he wakes up, he sees something creeping out of the darkness towards him. The figure looks like him but with blank white eyes. The creature slinks forward until right in front of the camera, where it lunges towards him. This wakes up our guy, who's flustered in the moment, realizing it was just a dream. But as he walks out of the bedroom and sees the snacks he left on the counter, a wave of terror washes over him, and we follow his gaze to the bedroom door that slams, ending the video. This is just so awkward the entire time. I think it was good for an early attempt without having any knowledge on cinematography, but looking back now, I cringe and giggle at the dead space and goofy acting. I wasn't always the perfection that I am now. Well, don't all agree. I want another one pulled from the Annals of Darkness Tales history back in 2016, The Eyeless Man. I was really big into shooting in this apartment. I hadn't gotten to the point of feeling confident enough to venture out to other locations, but I really wanted to make something spooky. We open to some desolate shots of the apartment, followed by a cut to our protagonist sitting on the bed. He begins talking about his mental space and how this dream he had really screwed him up. We get some spooky shots like these as he continues talking. He explains a creature in his dreams with no eyes was haunting him. When he lays down in his bed and falls asleep, the shenanigans begin. Crawling from over the side of the bed, we see what looks like our protagonist, but with gaping black holes where the eyes should be, only to see his eyes open, revealing beady white orbs. The thing slowly reaches over and softly grabs our guy, who pops up in his bed. As is common in my early work, our guy gets up and walks into the bathroom to compose himself, when all of a sudden his nose starts bleeding. He then starts coughing up blood as things go fuzzy and a dark mass overtakes him with an echoing scream. We then see the lights flicker back on, and a POV shot of something walking through the apartment as though our protagonist isn't piloting his own body. We stop at a door where the screen fades to black and the words, "You are next," pop up on screen. Is this the best short film? No, clearly. A lot of the shots linger a bit long. I do, however, give Old Darkness Tales some props on the POV shot at the end there. The monster is cool, in my opinion. Love the beady white eyes surrounded by the blackness, and I do genuinely enjoy the fully ad-libbed monologue at the beginning. These were the last films shot in this apartment before we moved, and I look back on that fondly. I made a lot of progress there, and it holds a special place in my heart. And we're just getting deeper. So close to the bottom now, I don't think anything could survive down here. Well, except us, of course, due to the fact that we are just a construct of abstract thought being personified to push the visual journey of diving below an iceberg, so... I can hear you asking, wait, I thought we already covered late. And to that I respond, yes, my dear squire. However, this is actually the first iteration. The second short film I ever made, featuring my brother Adam, de-aged a few years. Very similar storyline, but with a few distinct differences. Notably one that we actually shot a film when it wasn't freezing outside. Why don't we hop right in? We see a young Adam walking down the road when he gets a text asking where he is. He stops in front of the trailhead and you can see him mull it over in his brain if he wants to take the path or not. In the end, he makes the decision to do so. Shortly after making his way down the trail, he sees someone standing a few yards away with their back turned to him. The person starts cracking and bending, and they reach up to their own head and snap the neck, causing the body to fall to the ground. Adam, now freaked out, takes off back to the trailhead. Breathing heavily, he looks around trying to process what happened when from behind him a ghostly hand reaches up as we cut to black and a crack can be heard. So like I said, some differences for sure. No dialogue, short with no real twists or explanations. I really liked the concept a lot, but the video suffers from my inexperience with shooting at night. I think Adam crushed it with this one, and I think the ending on this one is actually better than the first one we covered, but I like the other concept with the phone call for a more well-rounded storyline. All that considered, this was so fun to shoot, and for an early attempt, really not that bad. 2015. Roommate. Okay, so this is the first ever horror video I shot. Please, for the love of God, don't roast me too hard. Big shout out to my buddy Cole with this one. He was a trooper and did everything I asked of him. That being said, let's hop into it. We open to Cole pulling into the parking lot and reading a text, stating Justin will be there in a bit, which I unfortunately have to blur out for inappropriate text. As he walks inside, we get a doorknob shot. I don't know what it is, but I've always liked a close-up of a doorknob. Cole walks into the bathroom to brush his teeth, but realizes his toothpaste is missing. He walks into Justin's room and flips the light on to reveal Justin laying on the bed. Cole brings up that he wasn't expecting him, but Justin brushes it off, saying he got home early. Cole asks to borrow some toothpaste because he has a girl coming over, to which Justin obliges. Cole walks out of the room, shutting the light off and closing the door. He starts brushing and walks into the hallway where he sees Justin just getting home.
Oh, what's up? What? Is everything okay? What?
A look of terror spreads across his face as he slowly turns to face the bedroom, and the door slowly creaks open and a dark shadow growls. This is so goofy, and I adore it. What are some of these shots? Cole's head is cut off in this one. I watched this, and I'm filled with nostalgia for my first foray into horror media. While this is objectively bad, I love it. Oh man, we made it. The bottom. The darkest depths in an unfathomable sea. Unfathomable. The darkest depths in an unfathomable sea. You know, I hear all the silt on the bottom down here is fish poop and decomposed animals, so do with that what you will. Anyway, welcome to the final tier. ZN-10_A6. What's with the name? Don't ask, because I don't know. I can't remember why I called it that. This video was actually the very first one inspired by analog horror. 6 minutes of nanny cam footage for your viewing pleasure. Wait, I don't like how that sounds. We open to a static visual of a bedroom. When about 80 seconds in, the bathroom door opens and movement can be vaguely seen in the doorway. A sudden burst of static interference is seen, followed by the closet door swinging open. Shortly after, another small static burst and movement is noted under the blankets on the bed. 2 hands splay out on the floor right next to the bed where the movement happened. Static. Something moves from the bathroom to the backside of the closet door. We get more static glitches and see an entity laying on the ground, head in hands, followed by it standing menacingly by the corner of the bed. It lays down and does what can only be described as snow angels on the bed. The thing gets up, walks into the bathroom, and then teleports to the middle of the room, staring at the camera. The mask is removed, revealing a featureless face with black holes for eyes as it gets closer to the lens. The thing caresses its face and suddenly jumps, causing a static pop, leaving the frame empty with the closet being almost shut, with a mask hanging from the doorknob. Someone walks into the room and notices the mask on the closet door and looks around in confusion. He takes a second glance around the room before checking in the closet. He suddenly gets dragged in and disappears, only to reappear, attempting to pull himself out of the darkness, but ultimately can't break the grip of whatever has him, and he's swallowed again. After a few moments, he comes walking out of the closet, picks up the mask, puts it on, and walks out of the room. That was a doozy to explain. I feel like this really needs to be watched in complete darkness and silence. Such a simple concept and a story told using a singular camera angle. I'm so proud of this video. We've done it. The Darkness Tales short film Iceberg is complete. Creating short films has been an incredibly rewarding journey that has not only honed my technical skills, but also deepened my appreciation for the art of storytelling. Through each project, I've explored themes, experimented with styles, and learned to convey powerful messages and emotions close to my heart. As I continue to develop my craft, I'm excited by the possibilities that lie ahead, and I'm eager to bring new ideas to life on screen. Each short film is a testament to the potential this format has to captivate, challenge, and inspire. And I look forward to further exploring the boundless opportunities that short filmmaking offers. I've learned so much about myself and who I am through all of this. And I'm glad you all came along for the ride. Thank you all for watching. And as always, have a terrifying evening.